Welcome to Dream Farm. On today's episode, I want to talk about interior plots and why I'm building another one, actually two of them today, and why I love them, and two reasons why I think they're super important for the property that you own. Dream Farm is brought to you by Whitetail Institute Food Plot Blends, Hunt Stand Pro Whitetail App, Hoyt Archery, Wildlife Farming, and PH Outdoors. Just to set the stage, I had two interior food plots that I wanted Ben to work on. These are locations number 1, which was an existing spot that I had started. Location number 2, which was a natural opening that needed to be cleaned up. But before he left, we ended up with a third one, and that was one that we carved out of the timber. All three of these locations are close together. They're about 100 yards apart. So that sets the stage. Let's get to the action. So let's start with what we're doing here. Ben Sweeney was here a few months ago and started cleaning up a plot that was up on this ridge in front of me. It was one that, it was kind of a natural opening that I'd pushed just a little bit bigger with the bush hog. He came, pulled some trees, and enlarged it. And then today he came back to take a bunch of stumps out and push it out even bigger, till it up and get it ready for seed. Well, in the process of that, I thought, well, let's pop down on this next little ridge next to it and see what we can do here. We hadn't planned on making one, but once we got back here, we just couldn't help ourselves. So I grabbed the chainsaw, started cutting down the bigger trees. He was pushing them out and taking out all the smaller stuff. And all he's got on that skid steer right now is the grapple bucket. He hasn't done anything else back in here except push with that grapple bucket. And I'm sure that we need to pull some trees and do some more cleanup, but it's pretty shocking what we were able to create here, starting from nothing and just cutting. I think I've only cut 3 or 4 trees so far. I'll probably cut 5 or 6 more before I'm done. My chain came off and I didn't have any tools, so I got to run back down to the buildings. But that's what we're doing. The reasons I love these things is, number one, they're great spots to kill deer, because just past this plot, another 50 to 100 yards further out on that point, is a really good bedding area all around the end. And I've been in there before shed hunting and scouting, and there's a lot of beds back there. It's a perfect spot for, really any daytime activity. Now we're back in close to that. So at the end of legal shooting time, the deer are gonna have been passing through here and out to wherever they're going. So this is perfect. You catch them here, they stage, you have a crack at them, and then they move on, and then you can sneak out of there at the end of legal shooting time without bumping anything. Second reason I like them on properties that I own is it does increase the value of the property itself. I'm paying Ben and I'm doing a bunch of work, so this creates value. This is stuff that if somebody bought this later, they'd have to have the vision for this first, and then they'd have to do the work. So if you can take care of those two things, you execute on the vision, you do the work, you are going to get rewarded for that effort if you do turn around and sell it. I'm not planning on selling this, but it never hurts to do the things that make the property worth more. And this is definitely one of those key things that structurally you can do to a property to make it more valuable. So that's where we're at. Before the day's over with, I'll spend some more time in here. We're gonna clean up one more spot out on this ridge with, as long as I got Ben here, and then I'll seed down that first one that we did earlier today. So a big full day. Got a lot out of old Ben there, and if you're interested, he does offer this as a service and he's really good at it. So I'll leave a phone number for Ben in the description. So I'll leave a phone number for Ben in the description if you want to catch up with him and have him stop at your property and do some of this work. I wish I owned a skid steer and all the attachments. It's just too expensive to buy it outright, because for what I can pay to hire him for a day, that would go, that doesn't go very far into buying one. You'd have a lot of days of renting Ben and his equipment before you'd catch up with owning one of these. I've got to run back down to the buildings and get some more saw parts and another saw and finish up my part here. So before this episode is over with, we'll show you this final product, the final product of the first one we started on, and then the final product on this little open ridge that we're going to clean up a little bit. We got that spot finished, kind of finished. Ben's back there now pushing the last of it out. It's kind of a spur of the moment thing. We're just going to make a trail back there, and then in the future, you know, at some point have a little interior plot. But once we got to pushing a few things around, I grabbed the chainsaw, cut a few trees down. The next thing we knew, we had at least a quarter of an acre, maybe as much as a third of an acre back there. Still a lot of stumps left, and I got to figure out what to do with them. If I had a bulldozer, this would have been, you know, a lot quicker and a lot easier, because those trees that we stumped, we could have just pushed them over and pushed them out of the way. But we just had that skid steer. And he did an awesome job with just that skid steer. I mean, he pushed out, you know, a big area, but now we're left with those stumps. And he can't dig them and pop them out with that stump bucket he's got when they're green like this. In a few years, if they've been dead for a while and they start to get brittle, then he can bust them out. But he said he would be digging for hours trying to get those stumps out when they're green. So I'll seed it, and it'll be something there. Don't know for sure yet what I'm going to put in there, but something will be in there this year, and then we'll clean that thing up next year and make it into a really, really nice, maybe an all-day kind of spot where you'd go and, you know, stay all day. Because that's, with an interior plot like that, that's the beauty of those spots, is they're good both morning and evening. I've had great hunts on those interior plots, you know, on both ends of the day. So let's finish this one. We're standing in the one we started on, and I'm going to plant the Whitetail Institute Pure Attraction in here. And it's basically, for all intents and purposes, the wintergreens plus their whitetail oats. And I can pull up and read you the ingredients off the bag, but that's more or less what it is. So it's a lot of brassicas, some kale in there, a lot of forage brassicas, and then their winter oats. See if there's triticale. Their triticale is in there also. Some people call it triticale. I don't know how it's pronounced, but so Ben Sweeney is more than just a skid steer operator and a friend. He's also a food plot bag spreader hack expert. He came up with this idea: going to the garden center, you buy one of these little planters, you cut the bottom out, and you slide that into your earthway bag seeder. Now you got something that will stand up when you pour fertilizer or a lot of seed in there or whatever. So just a real quick little tip. I wish I could take credit for being, you know, that ingenious, but we're going to give that one to Ben today. We'll see how it works. I'm going to pour this Pure Attraction in there and see if it stands up. We'll get this spread. We got rains coming this weekend. Hopefully that beats it in. One way or the other with this, you know, easily tilled or recently tilled up soil, as soft as it is, we'll get a lot of seed to soil contact, and we should get a nice plot here. So that's going to wrap us up. We did 3 spots. Started here, got this one into shape, cleaned up started on the one spur of the moment plot, cleaned up the one on the open ridge. Not sure what that'll be. That's a next year project, but at least it's cleaned up now. And we got this one completely done. So hopefully you see what the vision that I have with these interior plots. They're killer spots. You can't go wrong building these things and hunting them. They're great for hunting, and they're great for the value of your property. So I'm gonna end right there. We'll call it quits for today. Well, I appreciate you joining me. We'll see you right back here again in the near future for the next episode of Dream Farm. And remember to always dream big.